Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. Yesterday on February 27th, Capcom released their official guidebooks here in Japan. Now the big boy, the big huge fat guide comes out next month, but the miniature guides, which include all the great information from that book, came out. And this includes everything from the lottery method in which you get investigations, melding, hit zones down to the percentile, drop rates, motion values, you name it. So over the next few weeks I'm going to be going through it and sharing some of the more valuable information because as far as I know there's no plans to release these guides in English as of now. I really hope that they do though. Now you're going to see a common theme throughout all this, which is carve versus capture. There's no case for a rare material in which you have a higher percentile chance of getting it by capturing, which was not the case in past Monster Hunter games. So don't be so insistent on capturing a monster. However, you can end hunts quicker if you capture, so make sure to discuss with your online team before you do, and then do what you guys want to do. Another thing you'll notice is that you really want to be doing investigations. Silver reward slots and gold reward slots are the way to go. So honestly, I say if you have a bronze quest, which is just an additional quest reward, you may as well just throw it away. Make room for silver and gold investigations, as those are the ones you want to do. So starting out here, we're going to go with the Wyvern gem, and I'm going to group together Juratotus, Paolumu, and Baroth. There are other monsters in my list and video that have Wyvern gems, but these ones are really similar, so I thought I'd group them. So only 2% chance of getting it from a carve or capture, 1 if as a reward if you do it during an expedition, so not a good way to earn them. 1 in a quest reward, 8% chance though for silver reward slots, and 13 for gold reward for Juratotus, and 16 for Paolumu or Baroth. Next up is Tobikadachi. This has very similar rates for their gems, so only 2% for capture carve, 1 for expedition or quest reward, but 8% for silver and 16 for gold. If you want to get the electrodes, which aren't very rare, but I know that you need to get a lot of them, and Tobikadachi weapons are very popular, it's 12% from carve or capture, 100% if you break the head, so make sure you do that. It's only 200 damage to flinch it, and you have to do that twice in order to get the official break. 80% from a tail break. Again, this doesn't sever, so you can't cut off the tail and carve it, but you can break it. It's 160 damage to flinch it, 4 times to break it, and then 19% for both silver and gold. Next up is Rathian, with some really horrible rates for those gems. Only 1% for carve or capture, 2% for a tail carve, 3% for a head break, 1 for a back break, but you really do want to go for the silver and gold, which is 6 and 13%. Spike Plus is another one that you guys are going to be wanting to have because it's used in a lot of different weapons and you need many of them. 16% from a carve, 70 from a tail carve, 16 for capture, 30 from the back, and 22% for either silver or gold. Now in order to break the face, you will need to do 240 damage 2 times, and for the back it's 300 damage just once. Now going over to Pink Rathian, we can see that the spike rate has gone dramatically down, but the gem rate has gone up, just by a little though. 2% for carve or capture, 3 for tail, 3 for head, 1 for back, and 7 and 14 for silver gold. And spike is 65% for a tail carve, 30 for back, and 21 for silver and gold. So not really good drop rates either way you look at it. It's 240 to flinch and 2 to break the head, just like the regular Rathian, and 300 for the back. We get very similar numbers if we go to Rathalos for the gem and the medulla. So I won't go over all of these, but it's pretty much the exact same numbers, if not very close, to the spikes for Rathian. And here are the numbers for Azure. As you can see here, they do have some fluctuation, the same where the medulla is easier to get on the regular Rathalos and the gem is slightly easier to get on Azure. Okay, going over to Anjanath, the big bully that a lot of you guys seem to have a lot of trouble with because man does it get aggro and corner you and really maul you to death. So for the gem we have 2% for carve or capture, 3 for tail carve, 3 for head break, 6 and 13 for silver gold. And for the fangs, which I know a lot of you guys are going to want for gear as well, is 15% for carve or capture, 28% drop rate. Very interesting there. How do you drop your fang? 62% for the head break, and 24 for silver, and 23 for gold. So silver is actually slightly better for getting fangs. It is 150 damage to flinch the face, and you have to do that 5 times in order to get the official break. Okay, moving on to Diablos. Now for Diablos we have the Wyvern gem. This has higher rates than on the other smaller monsters you saw, but of course Diablos takes longer to kill, so I still think that Juratotus or Baroth might be a better choice for farming for Wyvern gems. We have a 3% chance from carve or capture, 3 from the tail, only 1 for quest reward, and 8 and 16 for silver gold. For its majestic horn, which is its rare one, you have a 65% of getting it for breaking the horns. I know the desire sensor is like, that's a 35% chance you're not getting it. And then a 14 for silver and 18% for gold. Now in order to break the horns, you will need to do 200 damage to each. One is for the left and one is for the right. And then you can get those horns. I don't know if you need to break both in order to get the reward. It didn't quite say, but I would assume that it's probably safe to do both just to be sure. Then going over to Black Diablos, literally the only difference is the gem rate. We see for Carve goes from 3 to 4% and Tail goes from 3 to 4% as well. Other than that, it's identical. Now over to Odogaron, because I know a lot of you guys want that armor because it's a very solid high rank set that goes well with a wide variety of weapons. For the gem, it's 2% for the Carver Capture, 3 for a tail, only 1% for a head break, so definitely go for the tail if you're not sure if you want to go for head or tail. Tail is definitely a higher priority. 6 and 13% for silver, gold, reward, slots, and investigations. I couldn't really think of a rare part, but I did decide to put the fangs because that is used in a lot of the pieces. It's 15% for Carver Capture, 28% drop, again, dropping fangs, 62% for the head break, and then 20% for silver and gold straight across the board for those. In order to break its face, you will need to do 300 damage 2 different times, 1 to flinch, 1 to break, so it shouldn't be too hard. Hopefully the desire sensor won't be too mean, but if you focus on investigations, I think you'll have much better luck. Okay, now going into the really annoying monsters. So we have Bazelgeuse or Bazelgeuse or however you want to pronounce it, because they don't say it in the game. So there's no official way of saying it that we know. So guess what? We're all right. For the gem, it's 2% for Carver Capture, 3% for a Tail Carve. Don't even bother with the back because it's only 1%. And of course, the major damage output on this monster is the face and the tail. 60% and 30% for silver and gold. For the wings, we have 11% on capture or carve, 65% on the head break, 9% on the quest reward, and 40% for silver gold. In order to break a head, it's actually really easy. It's only 180 damage, and you only need to do that once to get that break. One really interesting stat that I'll share that was on this guide is that there is a 70% success rate of a dung pod for Bazelgeuse. So if you find him invading your area, make sure you bring dung, and you have a very good probability of having him run away. Okay, next up is Legiana. This one also has some very cruel drop rates for the gem. It's only 2% for carve or capture, only 1% for head break, 1 for the back, 1 for the tail, and 6 and 13% for silver and gold, so you definitely want to focus on those. For a rare part, I think maybe Freezer Sack. For that one, you have an 80% chance for an expedition reward, 80% for quest rewards, 14 for silver, and there's a chance of getting 2 of them, and then a 12% of getting 3 of them in the gold reward slot. Now in order to break the head, you'll need to do 210 damage twice, 1 to flinch, 1 to break. For the back, for some reason, it listed back but completely forgot to list it, so who knows? I'm not even going to guess. And to break the tail, and again this is not sever but break, is 270. Okay, now we're going into the Elder Dragons, which I know a lot of you guys really want to know. Nergigante for the gem, we have a 2% for carve. Notice there's no capture, so if you're new to the series, Elder Dragons cannot be captured, no matter what the commander wants to think, so don't try laying traps, it's not going to work. 3% chance from a tail carve, 3% from a horn break reward, and then 6 and 13 for silver and gold. For the horns, which are definitely going to be a prize material for a lot of those gears, you have an 8% chance of carving it, a 66% chance of getting it from a single horn break, 97% chance if you break both horns though, and 18% for silver, and surprisingly it goes down to 17% for gold. Now in order to break a horn, you will have to do 280 damage to break it. So really not that tough, but online because of the bloat values, obviously that will get increased depending on the multiplayer. For multiplayer, which I think is 2.6 people are saying, but who knows, the guide doesn't actually say, so I can't say for sure. But if you're doing solo, the horns come off quite easy, so I definitely recommend if you're farming for horns that you do him solo. Next up, Kushala Daora, and this has been really mean to me and to a lot of people as well. For carve, it's 2%, 3% from a tail carve, 2% from a head break, and 6 and 13 for silver and gold. For the horn plus, you have an 8% chance of carving it, 66% chance if you get a head break, but there's a big note on that one, and then a 16% chance for both silver and gold reward slots on investigations. Now in order to break the head, it is really, really tough. It needs 300 damage to flinch it, and you have to do that 5 times in order to break the horns, and that is a lot. And the last point here is really important. The break has to be done when Kushala has less than 20% health. That's going to be very hard because that is the final area that it goes to with all the tornadoes, so this is another cry for help for everybody. Please bring mega barrel bombs if you're fighting Kushala Daora. When it goes to sleep, everybody should be putting barrel bombs by the face. Blow it up, not only will you kill it in one shot, but you'll also break out those horns. Next up, my favorite, Teostra. Now to get the Teostra gem, it's pretty standard across the Elder Dragons, 2% carve, 3 from tail, 2 from head, 6 and 13 for silver and gold. And to get its horn, it is an 8% chance to carve it, 66% from a head break, and 12% for silver or gold. In order to break the head, you will have to do 200 damage to it, and that's it. Like, the horns come off very easily, but you may be wondering, if you've been hammering on them all hunt, why aren't they breaking? It's because the final flinch has to be done when it has less than 20% health. So if you keep whamming on the face, that's good because it does a lot of damage, but don't be discouraged if those horns aren't flying off. And also powder. This sort of reminds me of Hellblade in that the powder seems to be used for so many things, and it's so hard to get. There's a 50% chance of getting it to drop, there's a 10% chance of it being a quest reward, and then a 12% for silver and 11% for gold. So don't give up. When you do get it, there's a high probability you'll get 2 of them in one shot, but it's just one of those things where we're going to have to battle the RNG. Next up, probably my favorite monster in this game so far is Vaal Hazak. For the gem, it's 2 for the carve, 3 for the tail, 2 for the head, 6 and 13 for silver gold, again very standard for the Elder Dragons. And the Fang Plus, which is very mean to everybody, is an 8% chance to carve it, 66% for the head break, 15 for silver, 14 for gold. In order to get the head break though, it takes quite a bit of amount of damage. There's 300 to make it flinch, and you got to do that 3 times in order to break that face. So if you're going online, 900 gets translated to a lot more than that. So everybody really needs to be focused on the head if they want to get that break. And finally we have Xeno'Jiiva. So Xeno'Jiiva is actually, there was kind of a myth of like, wow, I got a gem again, like, wow, I must be really lucky. Well, it turns out you weren't that lucky. The actual rates are higher than the other Elder Dragons. You have a 5% chance of carving it, 7% from the tail, 4% from a head break, 3% from a regular quest reward, and 3 for a silver and 3 for a gold, which is weird because I don't think there are silver and gold quests for this monster, at least yet, so the guide is probably just listing it just as a standard format. I don't think that those really count. And then for horn, we have a 8% chance to carve it and a 64% for the head break. I know it's tough because a lot of weapons can't reach the head, but it does take 400 damage to make it flinch, and you got to do that 2 times in order to break that head. So if you want to go for heads, I highly suggest that you let people in your room know, hey, let's go for the head. You do get a 4% chance of getting a gem from the head, so I do see there's a lot of good sort of meaning to putting that effort in there. And that pretty much covers it. What do you guys think? These are the official carve rates and the drop rates for these rare items. If there's something in this that is missing from this list, let me know. I know I didn't include low rank stuff like for plates or anything because those drop pretty often. And of course you can use items at the Elder Melder to make those things as well. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed these official numbers. Good luck against the Desire Sensor. Until next time, happy hunting.